That was good. You took a moment to dare to find that note, and then you found it.
I knew it was there.
That was very impressive.
I dared
You
to
did.
see
You
it.
didn't give up on it. You dared, and you found it. I like that. I like that a lot. It's like dare to. That was wonderful. Really, I'm very impressed. I'm less impressed that you hit the note than that you were willing to hit the note. I'm much more impressed that you were willing to go. Because you were willing to not hit the note in that moment. You know? But you were willing to shoot for it rather than give up on it. I know, but it's tough. I mean, the talk today is called I Dare Me. I Dare Me. Eric Butterworth, in your bulletin, says, dare to conceive of greater things for yourself. Dare to see yourself as strong, confident, successful, and possessed of the patience and stability to keep on moving in the direction of your dreams. In the direction, Craig Ferguson, I don't know how many of you know him, he was late night after David Letterman. I used to love his show. But in his book, he talks about failure and what he teaches his son, and he said, failure is just something we do till we succeed. It's no big deal. And so often we're so afraid of being embarrassed that, who's really looking at us? I think that with rollerblading. When I wanted to roller, I'm so afraid of falling down and looking ridiculous in the streets. And then it was right. There was a picture of John Kennedy Jr. in Central Park rollerblading, and I thought, he's not afraid of falling down in front of everybody and having a picture taken. Who knows me? Get out there in the blades, Shawn. And I did. I did. I empowered. It's like, really? I'm so worried that strangers in the street are going to laugh at me. No. I used to say I didn't wear a lot of clothes when I rollerbladed around the city. I was much more. A lot smaller than I am now. But I thought no matter what I look like, I'm moving fast. And I'm getting a good tan. That's how I looked at it. So I got over my shame of my body because it was more fun, more comfortable, and I got a great tan. I don't think I inspired lust anywhere. But I felt better about myself. And so I dared me. I've done a lot of daring of me over the years because I was told I could. And you look back at some of your biblical characters. I mean, Moses was dared. He said, me, but I stutter, and I cannot be a leader. And it's like, well, you are. You're the leader. Go. Fine. Dragging these tablets down a mountain. Burning bush. Jeez. There have been so many biblical leaders who didn't want to be, but it's like, okay, that's theirs. In Ezekiel, the book of Ezekiel, chapter 22, there's a passage that talks about God saying, I looked for one to bridge the gap, to fill in the gap. And that's us. We all have our gap. Physically, our gap is our fear. It's our belief in death. Sin, sickness, and death, really. That's our big gap. It's our belief in it. It's not our experiencing it. It's our conviction that it's real. Sin, sickness, and death. And some people, I don't like that word sin. Oh, knock it off. We're not in that kind of church anymore. Sin is missing the mark. And it's funny, we can sing Amazing Grace and we have to take wretched out of it, a wretch like me. But we put it into Christ in me. Everybody hears today is sing, wretch like me, and nobody's complaining. What is a wretch? I feel wretched some days, don't you?
Yeah.
Don't you feel like you're a big wretch? Yeah. The days you forget that you're God's beloved child. Aren't you wretched? It's not about somebody else's judgment of me as a wretch. It's my own judgment of me. And what I dare me to move past that, move in spite of those thoughts. That's what I did through my years of healing. I saw the thoughts and I said, but they told me I don't have to believe those thoughts. It was so simple. My teachers treated me as a child and I treated myself as a child. I don't have to believe that stuff. Oh, thank goodness. I didn't have to be a big adult and stand staunch and with my misery. They told me I didn't have to keep my misery. I like that better. That was a lot more fun to go out in the playground. And I don't have to believe my misery. I don't have to believe your misery. Nor do I have to convince you not to be miserable. You know, because that's just going to make me miserable. You're going to take me down before I bring you up. If you're committed to your misery, you are going to give me every reason why you should be miserable. I know, because I have tried to convince others why I should be miserable. David has finally stopped resisting me, so I don't have to convince him anymore, and my misery goes out the door so fast. So fast. We've really gotten a good dynamic in our household now, because he really doesn't resist me on why I shouldn't be miserable, why I shouldn't think this way. And so I stopped thinking it very quickly. It's, you know, because he's not going to play along. And it is no fun to play Monopoly with somebody who won't roll the dice. Oh, it's a drag. That's a long game. You're sitting there waiting. Please roll. Please roll. And you won't roll the dice. And I try to be better at not rolling the dice. So that I don't feel responsible or accountable for someone's hell, personal hell. And you can have your hell, but let's know something. It's not real. Isn't that a relief? Mm-hmm. I can play in the image of hell, but it's not real. It's temporary. It will pass. And I just dare me to let that defense go. The defense of sickness. The defense of lack. The defense of inharmony. The defense that, well, if you had my childhood, then I had your childhood. You know, I've known people who've had harder childhoods than I have, but mine was plenty hard, and I don't need to win any contest to who had the worst. I've turned my childhood into gold. I turned a rotten, lousy childhood into gold. And I don't want to be the one with the worst past. I don't want to be the one who is the most sick. I don't want to be the one who is the poorest. I don't want to be that one. And I don't want to be in competition to be the richest, the happiest, the whatever. I just want to be the happiest I can be. I want to be the richest I can be. I want to have the most fun I can have. Well, if that's the case, I've got to step up. Step up into some new thoughts. Step up into some defenselessness. Step up into some non-resistance. Step up into, Shawn, it's just not true. This stuff you think just isn't true. There is no absence of love, no matter what it looks like. There is no such thing as death, no matter how many people are dying. There is no such thing as inharmony, no matter how much fighting is going on. There is no such thing. So why try to convince myself that that is the reality? You know, ending war will not bring peace. The realization of peace will be the realization of the absence of war. Getting a bunch of cash will not end poverty. A wealth consciousness will make me realize there's no such thing as poverty. You know, as long as I'm seeing poor people in the world, I believe in poverty. There is a new way. There is a new thought. And it rarely occurs to us that the way to end all that poorness is to stop treating ourselves and others as if they are poor. You know, to go out and help the poor things. Wallace Wattles is very adamant about that in The Science of Getting Rich. He says, do not give to charity. Now, I'm not here to tell you what to do. I'm telling you what he said. Do not give to charity. You know, let's teach people how to fish. Let's all become rich. Now, rich is all different in everybody's mind. But would you become willing to become rich in your way rather than my way? Would you be willing to become rich in your way rather than my way? Or rather than your neighbor's way? Or the way in the newspapers? Would you be willing to become rich, whatever that means to you? I have one friend who, his idea of rich is living about 50 miles from another human being. That's his idea. It's not about how much money he has, but that he doesn't want to deal with people, which tells me there's another issue going on there. That perhaps he doesn't feel quite so rich. But can I be rich in any room? It's like when I quit smoking. Suddenly I could be anywhere. I could be in any room because I don't smoke anymore. I didn't have to be uncomfortable in the rooms where no smoking was allowed. And while I don't like being in a room where everybody's smoking, I can be there and it doesn't hurt me. But I can go to places now and not have a craving. It's lovely. It's really lovely. Although I remember I quit just before everywhere you went, there was no smoking. And I remember coming out of an elevator one day in the lobby. There was a little sign that said, "Thank you for not smoking." And I felt a grip. I'm being told no to something I don't even do anymore, and I don't like it. It's like, oh, I have another issue now. I wasn't aware of before. And so to take on this idea of God in a really, we'll say, smart way. Smart, intelligent way. Let's use our intelligence to realize there is no one and no thing against me. No matter what conditions I'm going through, there's no one and no thing against me. So if that, you can be willing, you dare yourself, no one and no thing against me. Not even myself. Okay then, so when I feel that there is someone or something against me, when I'm having those thoughts and I've associated those thoughts with a feeling, well, if that can't be the truth, then it has to be something else, doesn't it? If it feels like something's against me, someone or something, but nothing is against me, then it must be something else. Now we can go into prayer. We can go into some real prayer because we're no longer asking God to, we're no longer trying to convince God that something bad is happening. Because we won't convince God that something bad is happening. So if we're not doing that, then we can go into some real prayer and hear a real voice. And it is our superconscious mind. It's not God up there. It's superconscious mind that begins to guide us. You're thinking this way because this is what you have believed. It isn't the truth. Well, what is the truth? The truth is you're still thinking this way. Yeah, but why am I thinking this way? That doesn't matter. The truth is you're still thinking this way, and so you're still living in it. Yeah, but why am I thinking this way? That doesn't matter. You are still thinking this way. When you think another way, you will have a different experience. When you think another way, you will have a different experience. Wallace Wattles, in our book, The Science of Getting Rich, The Science of Being Well, talks about thinking in the certain way. Capital C, capital W. The certain way. And the certain way of thinking is your faith and personal application. Your faith combined with personal application. And so you need to look at your faith. I need to look at my faith. What's going on here that if I keep manifesting this, clearly this is where my faith is. I'm not stupid for that. I'm still believing an old way. I'm still trying to convince myself of how to get through this with the old way of thinking. When the old way of thinking clearly is not going to get me through this, as I've tried a dozen times now, and it's gotten me right back here instead of to the new way. And if I look back at when I applied the new way, the new thought, things changed. Every single time I apply new thought, a new thought, the new way, the certain way, every time my life changes radically. And every time I try to then say, okay, now I know what it is, and somehow I slip back to the old way. I'm trying to solve it through the world, through material, through my mother's thinking, whatever. I end up with the old way. And I thought, what happened here? I thought I had the new way. Clearly I had the old way. It's just like, pay attention. If I keep getting the same thing, clearly I am applying the same tactics. If I keep getting the same results, clearly I am applying the same tactics. Now, here's what's different about it. I'm not the same person as I was when I manifested it that way again. I'm smarter, I'm wiser, and I'm more connected to truth now than I was before. How do I know? Because we just experienced this lecture. And so, I have a new way. A new way. I'm a new person. Okay, everything looks similar. What's different this time about this manifestation than the last time when it looked just like this? But there has to be something different. Some little thing that's different. And latch on to that some little thing that's different. And then you will keep manifesting new and manifesting new. Latch on to, oh, this is different. Well, how did I bring, I was thinking this when I saw this. I was thinking this when I saw this. And that's how we begin to shift everything. And that's the willingness to pray differently expands. And the willingness to see differently expands. And the willingness to speak differently expands. And as soon as I catch myself in the uncertain way, I need to interrupt that. Interrupt it. And it will hurt your feelings some days to keep interrupting the old way. It's like, oh my gosh, how many times do I have to interrupt this? And it's like every time. As many times as I have to, if I want the new way. If I want the new experience of my mind. If I want the new experience of my body. If I want the new experience of my relationships. Imagine that you are a being who doesn't need anyone else to be different than they are. Oh, I loved bringing that up. Imagine that you are a being who doesn't need the phone to not have just gone off. Imagine. But imagine you're a being who doesn't need any of your past to be different. Not even 20 minutes ago. Imagine that you are a being who doesn't need anyone or anything to be different. Because you know who you are and you know what you are. And so, now you're only left with yourself who you wish were different. And that's easy if I'm not using everybody else to distract me. How fantastic. Oh, I loved saying that this morning. Imagine that we were all beings who didn't need anyone else to be different than they are. And so I'm free to love them just as they are. And my judgments, my opinions, my fears, my doubts, my whatever have no bearing on any of this. And so I don't need them anymore. Oh, I like this. I like this. I want you to listen to something I read this morning. It's from the book of the Gospel of John and the Holy Spirit's interpretation of the New Testament. And it's chapter 11. And it says, trust in this voice. You know that voice, the voice of Spirit that speaks in through us. Trust in this voice that you know is you and that you recognize as the light, as your light. Are we clear on this? What we're suggesting here is that the voice you recognize as the light is actually your light. It's not a light separate from you that is benevolent and has finally deigned to get in contact. This is your light. And so you must have had a thought that opened yourself to your light. There is no reason not to trust the light, for in the light you can see and you will know freedom. Step into the light fully without fear of death. And see how clearly your path is lit. See how well you know your way. See how happy you are to know that which the light has shown you. Have faith in the voice that comes from within. The one that seems to come from far away and does not seem to always be there. For this voice is with you always and only seems distant when you fear your death. It is your fear that blocks your awareness of the light, and yet it is the light that blocks out death. For death cannot be within the light, because the light cannot die. The resurrection is within you because the light is within you, and the light is the resurrection. To know the light and to know the resurrection, which is, you must put aside the voices of death. Put aside your grave clothes and look at them no longer. You live, listen to the voice of life. The light must not hide, and the light cannot hide. When you have come to see that the light is in all things, you will also see that the light has not been hidden. You just did not see it there, but it has never been hidden. So why is it that you cannot see the light if the light is everywhere, even now shining brightly for you to see? It is because you have focused your eyes on something else. A fog and a shadow. It is the fog and the shadow that you insist must hold all truth. And so it is the fog and the shadow that you focus on and try to protect. Well, I dare you not to protect it anymore. I dare me not to protect what I think is the absence of light anymore. I dare me not to protect my parents, not to protect my past, not to protect my spouse, not to protect my body, not to protect my very self from anything that isn't true. Not to protect myself from sickness, not to protect myself from lack, not to protect myself, because you see, if I protect myself from these things, it means I believe in them. I don't want to believe in sickness. I don't want to believe in lack. I'm not talking about experiences, I'm talking about belief. I don't want to believe in disharmony. I don't want to believe in any of that. We have a friend, we went to a memorial service yesterday. We went to two. I facilitated one in the morning for Dorothy Carolyn. And I got to witness how many people love this woman. And then in the afternoon, we went to one in the city for a friend of ours who has made his transition. And he was diagnosed with an illness back in 1987. He has outlived 4 careers. And Lucy was there, and she sang, David played for her. And she was talking about Mark, and that 4 times they've done a bedside vigil saying goodbye for him. And each time, Lucy would try to be nice, well, he's been real good to do whatever. He'd say, I'm not going to die. So tell John, I'm not going, his partner then, I'm not going to die. This is just temporary. And then he would rally. He lost an eye, and he lost toes due to diabetes. He's lost, a lot. And the day he did die this year, he just collapsed in the street and left very quickly. Very, very quickly. But 4 times he told us, I'm not going to die. Quit treating me like I'm just not doing well today. I'm not going to die. Tell everyone you know. And then he would rally. And they assumed he had used up 8 and he still had a 9th this time, but no, he went. And we don't know why he died. But he didn't live in fear of dying. He lived. He lived. He said some of the most outrageous things you'd ever want to hear a human being say, because he wasn't apologizing. He was just, this is how he lived his life. He, as Lucy said, when she met him, she said, oh, when I met Mark, he came through a friend of mine, and if you wanted this friend, you got Mark. And I thought, oh, he is so irritating. And his irritating stuff became charming over the years. And she decided to love him. And everyone that got up on that stage yesterday talked about just loved him. And I've never met anybody who had so many oldest best friends. I mean, David in the car, I wonder if Robin will be there, because she's his best friend. Well, she wasn't even there. But there were so many others. So this is Mark's oldest friend, and this is Mark's oldest friend. I thought, my God, everybody in his life is his oldest best friend. Because he dared himself to have a great life while he was in his body. No matter what was going on, he didn't complain about the other stuff. So this is what I'm going through today. Okay, the eye's got to go. Fine, I won't be a photographer anymore. Okay, so I'll get into real estate. And he became successful at real estate. It was really impressive how successful he was at everything he did. And so, all of us, would you dare to dream of having a great life and it's unconditional? Can your great life be unconditional? When I was talking about Dorothy Carolyn yesterday, and Dorothy left at 94 in August, And she, some of the things that were said about her, you know, that everything, she took walks and she did all this stuff, and her granddaughters was my favorite. She didn't bake cookies. She was not that kind of grandmother. But she did introduce us to seaweed, yoga, and meditation. That's her relationship with her grandmother. Everybody there that I met yesterday was very happy that they knew Dorothy. Very glad. And I'm glad that I knew Dorothy the little bit that I knew her. Near the end, she couldn't come up the steps anymore. She couldn't come to church anymore. But I dare us all, I just dare us all, accept God as good. Accept ourselves as good. Accept our lives just as they are as good. And admit, I don't know what my life is. I know what I think about it. I know what I feel about it. But the truth has got to be, my life is good. And I dare me to believe that.